Take It Slow Homestead. Today I'm just, of course, taking it slow like always. Not really, sometimes I actually work. First thing I want to do is explain why we have noisy cars passing by every once in a while. Have a street right out there, and it used to not have hardly any cars at all going by. Here comes another one. Yeah, cars, trucks, tractors, which I really do love to see the tractors going down the road. Anyway, when we first moved here, there were hardly any cars at all that came down the road, but now things have developed. People have moved out here, there have been new subdivisions, there's a school, and so there's a lot of reasons for people to drive up and down this road. So I'm going to try and do most of my filming in other areas of the yard and garden in the future, or do it at midnight when nobody's driving down the road. Actually, people do drive down the road at midnight too. So anyway, sorry for the noise. There goes another one. But I'll try to figure out the best way to handle that. Today I want to talk to you about compost. Now, a lot of this stuff that has inspired me recently are the other people who have YouTube channels that teach a lot of things about everything to do with the garden and homesteading. And so I want to acknowledge them. So every once in a while I will say something about another channel, and I hope that you will understand that I'm not getting paid for any name dropping here. I'm just telling you where to go for more information, because these are the people who have inspired me. And one of the people who has inspired me concerning composting is a guy called David the Good, and he has a lot of great information on composting. He's written a couple of books or pamphlets or whatever on composting. One of them is called Compost Everything, and I'm sure that if you look that up you can find it. And also, if you want to go to his channel, it's David the Good. He has a lot of good information. He inspired me. So first of all, I want to show you the compost in my raised bed, and then we will walk down the path and look at my son's compost pile, or piles, and then we will look at my little compost pile, and then we'll go in the back in the small space. I think I'm going to call that Big Dreams Garden, because as I told you before, I was inspired by what I thought was a YouTube channel, but it was actually on Netflix, a program called Big Dreams Small Spaces. And so I think we'll call it the Big Dreams Garden. So we'll go back there and look at the soil there too, because I have enriched some of that so far. Even though I've only had that garden space for 2 seasons, this is the 2nd year. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is look at my raised bed and check out the soil in the raised bed. Okay, here's my raised bed. And right here at this end, if you remember from the previous video, here's the eggplant. It's getting bigger. I think it grew like 4 inches yesterday. We've had a lot of rain here lately, which is unusual for our area, and we're so thankful to get it. I mentioned before that I wasn't sure what type of brassica this was. I really think that it's a cabbage, but I'm not sure. But then this morning, guess what? I found my marker, and so I grabbed it and I brushed the dirt off of it, and yeah, it has all faded away, so that didn't help me very much. I still don't know for sure what it is. But here, I'll push this garlic away, this onion away a little bit. And this is actually one of my very favorite tools. It's just a little hand hoe. It's a stirrup hoe. And so we're just going to take this and stir up the soil a little bit. And you see, this is pretty good stuff. There's a rock. It feels good. It's light, it's not heavy, it's not clay at all. When my son built these raised beds, there's this one, and then I'll give you a better view of the one that he uses. It's right over there. We have a weed patch in between us. This weed patch in between us, I actually gardened in it last year and had a really good garden, but we have a different plan for this year. So there's his raised bed and this raised bed, and he filled them both with a mixture of soil, manure, and compost. And both last year and this year, the results have been really good. Things have grown really well. And in his raised bed, as I mentioned before, he has an herb garden. And so I'll just give you a little look at his. He's got dill and parsley, some beautiful marigolds there in between. He also planted cilantro around where those marigolds are now. The cilantro has already been harvested. He's got some basil here that are being visited by some bees. I don't know if I can get that on camera, but yeah, there's some bees there doing their work. Oh, there's quite a few, because his basil is going to seed. Yeah. Well, if I was an expert photographer, I could zoom in on some of these girls. He's got some rosemary, which incidentally is annual around here. We have too cold of winters. It will not winter over. So that's beautiful rosemary. We can dig it up and take it in for the winter if we want to. He's got chives, and then he's got a wonderful carrot patch here at the end. So that's his. Now we're going to take a little walk over to his compost pile, which we've had in our family for a lot of years. I don't know, I would guess at least 40 years we've had a compost pile in this area. This is my son's main garden. He's got some tomatoes right there. Through those tree limbs that are blowing in the breeze, you can see the corn there in the background. And there's some squash along this row. That's where those beautiful yellow zucchinis on my counter came from. And then this row is an amazing row of peppers. I don't know how he does it. It must be the compost, right? I'm sure it is. So here's the corn patch. Yeah, most of them are taller than we are. And you can see that right here, up closer to where I'm standing, there's more shade and less corn. So that just goes to show how important the sun is to your garden for most of your vegetables. From what I understand, most vegetables need between 6 and 8 hours of sunlight every day. So there's a little rule of thumb you can go by. Okay, there's some more squash. And then he has an asparagus patch, which I noticed that some of the other homesteaders, they call asparagus and I can't think of that other one. Anyway, there's a few things that are actually vegetables, but they're perennial. And so when someone moves to a new farm, they like to put in their perennial vegetables first. Asparagus, which is one of. Okay, there's his huge potato patch, which is really good because he shares with me every year, even though this year I'm striving to grow my own. So, and then along here, a beautiful row of cabbage. So that's really great. Okay, we're going to walk over here to this side of the path. And first of all, I'll show you this compost pile. And it's about 4 feet tall, something like that. And we just throw all of our weeds, the ones that we don't mind keeping. You know, if they go to seed and stuff, you really should get rid of your noxious weeds. But the other ones, if they're young, just throw them in the compost pile. Any vegetable, trimmings, whatever, throw in the compost pile. Grass clippings you can throw in there. Lots of other things that are biodegradable. This is a wheelbarrow full of grass from my house because I've got a project going on over there, and my son can use it here in his yard, so he harvested that from my house. Okay, here's the rest of that compost pile there. It needs to be turned over or ground up. We normally just use a rototiller and run that through it. Over here is the year before, which he will throw on his garden this fall, which is coming up in a couple of months. So this is all been composted, and it is more ready for the garden than that first pile that I showed you. So now, back down the path we go. This used to just be a dirt path years ago, and over the years we've put a little grass here and there, and now the whole thing is a nice grassy path. So it's really enjoyable. I noticed that my hollyhocks are starting to come out. Let's see if we can get one to look this way. There we go. Pretty hollyhocks. I think they're so pretty. Okay, a lot of interesting old things along the fence. Here's another hollyhock in bloom. Ooh. Yeah. Right. Now, this little tiny place over here is my compost pile. On this half of it right here, I started building this pile last year, and I just turned over with my fork some of this area right here so I could show it to you. It's pretty nice. So it's all ready to go on the garden this fall. It gets plenty of water right here, not just because it's rained, but because on the other side of this fence is where I sprinkle my Big Dreams garden. Almost forgot already what we're calling it. And so through the slits in the fence I get water on this, which is good. Compost piles need water. So right about here, right along here is the separation between these two piles. This one over here is last year's, and it'll go on the garden in a month or two. This one right here is what I've been building this summer. So you can see there's leaves, there's stems, there's shredded paper from my paper shredder. I put ground up eggshells in here. I usually just grind them up with my rolling pin, because the smaller the item is, the faster it will decompose. Okay, the smaller it is, the faster it will decompose. the sooner you can use it in your garden. So this little pile right here, I'll just keep adding things to it, turning it over occasionally, making sure it has water occasionally. And this will be for next fall, to put on my garden next fall. This one will go, like I said, on my garden this fall. And the place I'm going to put it, since my raised bed is well composted already, I will put it in my Big Dreams garden. This area right here is a failed strawberry patch. I planted strawberries here last year. They did not make it. I don't think the soil was rich enough, so I am going to take a little bit of that compost, put it in here, and mix it in and try strawberries again. So that's just a little raised area that I made against the fence there. It has compacted quite a bit, so I need to get that full to the top with some good soil. This year I planted some petunias along here. They've been doing fairly well. I think they've been a little bit stunted from all the rain we've had. We even had hail with the last storm, which was a surprise. So now, here we are in the Big Dreams garden. I need to show you something. I know I already showed you this cattle panel trellis, but I just want you to know that the people who inspired me to do this are from Roots and Refuge Farm. That's their channel, Roots and Refuge Farm. Jessica and Jeremiah are their names, and they have so many great ideas and inspiration. So in one of their videos they showed how to put up these cattle panel trellises, and so with the help of my daughter-in-law we put this one up. It actually used to be in the weedy garden that I showed you a few minutes ago, which is weeds now, but the place I planted last year next to the raised beds, in between the raised beds, we had it there, and then we moved it to here. And as far as I'm concerned, this is where it's going to stay. Last year I planted cucumbers. They did pretty well climbing the panel. This year I planted green beans, which I showed you before, and they're doing great. I love the way it looks. Up here they're starting to cross over the top of the trellis, and so hopefully they get the air circulation they need, the sun they need, and the pollination they need so that they can produce some beans. I did notice just a few minutes ago that I do have a couple of beans here. Now let's see, the trick is going to be if I can find them again. So let's see here. Where did you go? Aha! That wasn't too bad. So got that nice one, a little tiny one right next to it, starting to grow. So those are the first ones I've noticed. I'm hoping that the weather holds out and we can get a good harvest of green beans, pole beans. I believe the variety is Blue Lake, because that's my favorite, and so that's what I probably planted. I'd have to go look at my seed packets. Okay, here's the soil out here in the Big Dreams garden, and I put some compost in this part of it last year, so you can see what nice soil that is. Yeah, isn't that nice? And it's done a great job growing the peas, and now of course, like I mentioned before, I've got tomatoes growing here because the peas have died down. I actually did get a handful of peas last night, so I guess they haven't totally died down. There's one right there, but it's pretty flat. The peas haven't matured inside of the pod yet. Earlier I mentioned David the Good, and he has coined a phrase which I never heard before, so I assume he coined it. It's called chop and drop. And what he means is when you get rid of something, some green growing thing that is a weed or something you don't like, you chop it down and then you use it right now in the garden. So I could put it right there around, see the stem of that tomato plant. It is right, where is it? Okay, there it is. That's where it goes into the ground, right there. So there's the stem. So you take your weeds or whatever you've just chopped or pulled up, and you just put it around that plant. And then it starts to decompose and enriches the ground, enriches the soil, and feeds your plant. Now, David the Good has a machete that he uses because he considers it one of his most handy tools, and so he actually does chop with his machete, and he'll chop things down. He says if you have an obnoxious invading weed that is growing in your garden, don't worry about getting rid of it because it's putting out a lot of green stuff, leaves, stems, whatever, and so just chop it down and put it around your plants, or drop it around your plants, chop and drop, and then let it grow again. You know, don't let it go to seed, but let it grow again, and then chop it and drop it again. So there you have turned something that you don't want in your garden into something that you do want in your garden, which is enriched soil and healthier plants. So here's my funny little corn patch. I think I'm taller than all of these as compared to my son's corn patch. And actually, I was going to show you two things. There's my biggest tomato plant, and I think it grew like 6 inches yesterday. I don't know, seems like it. It's doing really well. I did notice in my potato patch right here that I have one that looks like it's spent, and I'm really curious to know if I got any potatoes under that. So I don't know if I can just find out by digging it with my hand, or if I'm going to need to, oh, look at that. There's a small one. Yep. These are called Nicola potatoes, and they are very low on the glycemic index. And so if you're diabetic, here's another tiny one, then you might want to consider planting these because they're the lowest potato you can get on that index. Yeah, that one broke off. I was afraid they were going to break off. So what I'm going to have to do is come out here with a fork or a shovel and get down under. Yeah, I can do that better with the right tool. So I will come back later and do that. But anyway, there's two little ones. Yum. That will go really well with the, 25 peas that I found yesterday. Yeah, that'll be delicious. I'm not being facetious either. It really will be delicious. It's just that they're small. Okay, so I think that's basically what I wanted to show you concerning the compost piles and the importance of compost. Recommending David the Good, his channel, for more information on composting. And now there's the path from this end. So it's really nice. I have a swing here that I got from a friend of mine And it's so fun just to come out and take a seat now and then, relax, and look and see what things are growing without having to work all the time. So, and there you go. I love the fact that you're watching this video. Okay, now I say we're, but I mean me, myself, and I'm going back in to get out of the sun. So first of all, we have all this rain and everybody's cooled off and feeling great and loving the rain, and then all of a sudden the rain's gone and it's hot again. But it's good to have a change of weather. So I'll take these little potatoes inside. That feels much better. Take off my shoes. Uh-oh, I forgot to put my little tool away. I will do that in a sec. All right, here we are. I'll wash those potatoes off. And, you know, I think what I'll do is make some soup and put them in the soup and put the potatoes in, put the peas in. I have a tomato that, oh, sorry about that, tomato that I want to put in soup. I think I'll probably put one of those zucchini squashes in the soup also. Okay, there we go. And then, yeah, then I'll enjoy the soup. Maybe I will pressure cook the chicken and put it in there. Put a little bit of chicken meat along with whatever vegetables are in my freezer, and get some kohlrabi in there too, right? So, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you liked what you saw, click the like button. Make a comment, ask me questions, give me some answers, because I can always use answers. I'm always looking for answers. If you want to, check out those other channels that I mentioned. They have a lot of great information. It will help you as a gardener. So share this with your friends who also like to garden. And remember that even if you take it slow, you can accomplish a lot. Have a great day. Here's the rest of that hill of potatoes. You can see, not too big. We'll see what we get from all of the rest of them in about another month or so.